Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, producer and co-founder Brian Goins.
I feel like the last time I saw you was when I visited your place back in, it was like pre Omicron. That was crazy.
That was what a time. We went to a restaurant. You know, we didn't feel like we were in immediate danger. You know,
that restaurant was awesome. What was it called again? I can't remember the name. It was in the Gables.
It was a rooftop in the Gables. It's a new rooftop in the Gables. Hold on, let me get the name because I want to shout them out because that place was really good.
Service was so great. So yeah, that place was amazing.
In Coral Gables, love it. Highly recommend. What Fig said, Olive Garden. Yep, that's me eating out at the Olive Garden. Today is our all-star selection show. I'm happy to be doing it with Brian. Brian and I, we started this thing, so we're excited to pick some all-stars.
Bro, did you know this? Did you know we're nearing 400 episodes? I think this is number 398 or 397.
396.
Right, shit, that's crazy.
396, man. It's
we need ideas for our 400th episode.
We didn't do anything special for 305, which was a missed opportunity. Also, I mean, we're approaching a decade soon, so that's coming up. We started in 2012, and we're coming up on 2020. What is 2013? I think.
2013. Right
in May.
That was pretty much the last finals that the Heat won.
Yeah,
was
May
when
May
we did
in 2013. Yeah,
first shows.
So Brian, let's talk a little bit about last night, and then we're gonna move into some all-star. Let's just do some housekeeping on some stuff. So the Heat get Bam back. I think he was a little rusty. What a great game against the Raptors. I know that, whatever, it got real chippy at the end with two fan bases. But, bro, what an awesome game. And, I mean, I don't want to see them in a playoff series because that's going to be an absolute bloodbath. But that was one of my favorite games of the year.
Honestly, their last two wins have felt like playoff games, the most of any game that they've played so far this season. And it feels nice because I felt like towards the beginning of the season, you were seeing that it seemed like they weren't doing as well when it was coming to crunch. Like they were great when they had the lead, when they had like blowouts and stuff.
Yeah.
But when pretty much, the game gets, pretty close, intense, physical, all those emotions kind of kick in, it felt like they didn't have the same energy. I felt like a lot of it was offense. Defensively, they were fine. Just offensively, they were not making enough baskets to kind of keep them in the game. Primarily really that one Utah game where they almost came back, pretty much both Utah games, right? They came back and it felt like if they had an extra minute of regulation, they would have lost both those games.
Because they were up, and then the other Utah came back. So, I mean, those have been really fun games.
And I know that they talked about it a lot in the media, like they need to play better in those kind of close games. So it's very nice and very refreshing to see them pull out these wins. And really these playoff environments, and especially at home, to see it at home with a fan base, cheering them on, obviously, despite like everything that's going on in the country with the coronavirus and everything, it just feels nice to see that kind of playoff atmosphere that the Heat and this fan base haven't really seen in a few years. Because I mean, last time they made that finals run, they weren't even in front of their home team. They were pretty much, they were stuck in a bubble. So it only gives you a preview of what's going to come, I think.
Why is chat talking about me being bullied? I'm not. I mean, I am bullied, but is something happening on Twitter? Am I being bullied on the timeline right now that I don't know about? What's going on? Why is chat talking about bullying me? Regardless, Bam did come back. I thought his defensive activity was fantastic. I like that they went back to their switching. I think you saw that when Bam stepped back, that like we're gonna go to what we like and what we want to do. Dedmon, first big off the bench, no Yurt 7 minutes. I think Gabe kind of proved that maybe he should have a little bit more regular season leash, even if it's, 12 to 15 minutes a game. Brian, I thought, I understand the confusion with Spo kind of sitting him the game before. But, kind of in a war of attrition with depth, I think that, kind of having Gabe eat up some of those minutes is good.
Honestly, I think those Gabe minutes, and especially the Gabe and Caleb minutes together, those were some of the best lineups
Caleb.
that put out. And it just seems like a lot of the good things that happen for the Heat come on the defensive end. Like when they're able to produce those fast break opportunities, it just helps them in a way control the pace of the game. That's always been their biggest thing, is they can control the pace and play at their own speed, play at their own tempo. It feels like they have a good chance to win. Offensively, obviously, like the 3-point shooting has been keeping them in it as of late. But like when it comes to playoff time, these kind of games where it gets physical and intense, you need the defense to kind of step up. And we've seen two pretty great defensive performances from this team. And obviously, it's not a shock that with Jimmy and Bam coming back, that's when the Heat are at their best defensively. So it feels like things are clicking for them at the right time. And just looking at the landscape of the league, especially in their conference right now, it seems like the perfect time for them to capitalize on that first seed and probably hold on to it for quite a bit of time. They have a great home stretch still for like the next, I think, 10 games before they really have like another road trip. I know they have one game that's in Atlanta next week, but for the most part, I think the rest of this month, it's pretty much all home. And it's not, looking at the opponents, I feel like Toronto might be one of their hardest teams that they're going to have to play.
Philly was another that they just got.
Philly definitely was. I'm not sure about the Lakers game. I heard AD may or may not come back by the time. Who knows if LeBron wants to play that game?
Yeah, LeBron probably at this point doesn't really have a choice.
But besides that, like I don't think there's that many teams throughout this month that kind of scare me at the moment.
Lavine's out for a while. Durant's going to miss time. So those are the two teams ahead of you. Lowry, I think, is missing tomorrow's game as well. Hope everything's okay with him and his family.
Well, it's personal reasons. I think it's
obviously
it's not injury related, but
no, yeah. I meant emotionally. Like I hope you're,
they'll be fine.
That takes longer to heal than any ankle, Brian. Matters of the heart. Going back to a couple points before we move on. Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent. Caleb, as Siobhan calls them. Plus 7 points per 100 possessions in 333 minutes. 102 defensive rating, almost 103. That is kind of what you're going to get. You get those two guys that are hawks on the perimeter. The way that Gabe was guarding Pascal Siakam yesterday down the stretch was pretty remarkable, and they allowed some of their bigger guys to go on the Toronto wings and the guards, particularly Van Vliet, kind of let Jimmy and Caleb defend him, and Gabe held his own. And I think that I don't know if that's taken a page out of Lowry's book, where you're just like, you dare these dudes to post up, and Pascal's like a legit good post-up player, but they kind of dared him, sent help, sat on the spin move, and I thought that was terrific. To your point about the home games, it's nice because they've had such a road-heavy schedule. It's good that these guys can kind of get some reps at home. Bam's coming back. Brian, things looking up. I mean, they've been pretty good, but now, we're going to see, once these guys get healthy with this kind of soft schedule, we can kind of get them have a couple games under their belt before it gets rough again. And I think that that's going to be a really fun thing to see.
I'm super happy that Bam's back. You saw the love from the fan base, from UD having that sign, waiting for him basically during warmups. The team definitely needs Bam. He's pretty much the heart and soul of this team more than anyone else, I feel like. And you could tell, he even said in his pregame comments, like he didn't even sleep pretty much the night before because he was so excited to come back and play. So it's just awesome to see Bam back out there. And as much as we love Yurtseven starting and trying to make a case for him, as pretty much like the future of this team, maybe down the road, it's definitely Bam right now. We need him more than anyone else in the front court. And I'm sure Yurtseven's time will come. I don't know if they'll eventually try a pairing with him and Bam. I don't see it happening this season because I feel like right now Spo is going to be. Right now, Spo has a challenge of just playing 12 guys that deserve minutes. And I'm not sure if Yurtseven can. I don't know if he can overtake Dedmon's spot as a backup big at the moment.
I think Dedmon's just so plug and play for what they do. I think his chemistry with Hero is is almost the most important thing in this decision, because when those two guys come off your bench, that it's going to be pretty spectacular. So together they're about plus 11, 120 offensive rating. And that number actually was plus 20 earlier in the season. But when those two starting, those numbers took a bit of a hit. So kind of want to see how those numbers stabilize with, their lineups being, a little healthier. So just good stuff for the Heat all around. Great win. Disappointing loss against Philly on a night that they couldn't shoot the ball well. Some of the problems with
they were going to have one of those nights. I mean, they weren't
a stinker.
They weren't going to be shooting 40% from three for the entire month, every single game, 99 out. They were going to have.
It's funny, Brian. Like Philly fans were even like, like they're not super like into their team right now. Like it's kind of funny how the Sixers have become the thing that Hinkie never wanted them to be, like a pretty good but not great 5th seed in the Eastern Conference.
You mean what the Heat were for years with what was those teams that we were throwing out there with Wade, Whiteside, Dang.
But those are the rebuild periods. They got a 3 seed.
I know.
Those years. You watch your mouth. But it's just funny how that's how the Sixers ended up, right? They're a couple games back of 3, right? It's not like they're gonna, but they're just like not. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people take them seriously. But
I'm not scared of that matchup in the playoffs.
I'm not scared of anybody. I'm just not. No team worries me. I feel
but there's certain matchups you want to like. You don't want to play Cleveland the first round if you can.
I lied. That team scares me. I talked to Justin Rowan. I'm like, I want you all to get that red for the Bucks. Fuck that. I want Garland and Allen. 2 guys playing outstanding, which I think leads us pretty easily into the All-Star game. By the way, shout out to Cal AU for the Prime sub. We love.
Oh, no, thank you so much for all these subs, man. I've been I haven't been on a couple of these shows, but I've been watching, from a distance. And dude, I saw you guys had like over 150 subs in one Hangover Time.
Yeah, no,
that was a record, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's crazy that you guys have been like outpouring with your love with all these subs, and it helps us keep our lights running. So it's as long as you guys can keep doing that, we can keep making content for you guys. So.
I got in a fight with Ben Dawson the other day, and I said, I make a living doing what I love with my friends. You can't hurt me.
You guys help pay for a new duvet for me. Thank you.
Look at that. Thanks. Shout out to Brian. Did you get the one I had? I didn't see that one on.
No, yours wasn't in stock.
Yeah,
so
we got lucky. I bought that in store though. I didn't buy that online. I went to the store and I picked it. So
I'm not going store right now. Everything's bought pretty much online shopping everything right now.
Brian and I both bought houses, so we're very into decor right now. So apologies to that. Carteliana says G treated us with stripping. Yeah, I asked for subs so I wouldn't take off my jersey.
Smart.
That did happen. So All-Star game in Cleveland. We don't want to play Cleveland. This is a show where we are going to pick our All-Stars. So Brian, how should we do this? Because I like how Zach Lowe does, where he kind of mentions his locks and then like his guess, but I don't want to copy that. Is there something we can do? We probably should have planned this.
Why can't we copy him?
Let's copy Zach Lowe.
It seems like a smart way to do it.
Because when you pick All-Stars, okay,
how about we come up the rules? I tell you for sure what the rules are so we don't fuck this up too? Because I'm looking at on the official NBA.com site, they have a web page called the NBA All-Star Draft Explainer. So it pretty much tells you exactly what needs to happen in terms of picking these teams.
But I don't want what we think is going to be the All-Star. I want who we think is deserving to be the All-Stars.
Yeah, and I feel that same way too.
But you just want to explain it to the audience. Yeah,
but we also have to make sure that it's within the criteria of who gets voted into the All-Star.
Gotcha.
So the criteria for pretty much, I think, since 2018, because that's when they made these changes, was so there's 12 pairs from both the East and West teams that get voted in. There's 10 starters, obviously 2 guards, 3 front court players per conference, and those are chosen by a combination of the fan vote, which takes 50% of the vote, current players, so players who are playing right now in the teams, to get 25% of the vote, and then the last 25% are basketball media. So I guess people like Zach Lowe have a vote in that last quarter percentage. So those combined make 100%. That's how you get voted into the starter spots. Now, if you want to get voted as like a backup, as like the reserves and stuff, those are when the coaches come into play. So the 30 NBA coaches select the 14 reserves, which includes 2 guards and another 3 front court players right now for both conferences. So we have to keep that in mind. So like the starters that we're picking or who we think are deserving to be picked, obviously they're going to be picked based on, those criteria. So it's 3 front court players, 2 guards, both spots. And then me make sure one more thing because it's three.
So
Isn't that wait? That's 10
front
players. There
and
should be 2 more
guards.
players.
Yeah.
And 2 players at any position in the respective conference. Okay, so you can basically pick two players from whatever position you want.
So we get 3 front court, 2 guards, 2 wild cards as the reserves, and obviously the starters are the starters. All right. So let's start with our locks, Brian. Let's start with the starters. Who do you have as like for sure locks? You didn't even have to think about it, and we'll see if we have the same ones.
So I felt like it was easier to do the front court, in my opinion, than the back court. Because I feel like on the East, especially.
We're doing it for the Eastern Conference, by the way.
Yeah,
chat.
we're only doing Eastern.
Yeah, we're only doing it. I don't give a shit about the West.
But for the East, I think the 3 easy locks for the front court are Giannis, Embiid, and Durant.
Yeah, those are mine.
As your front court.
I think for all this shit we talk about Embiid, I mean, we kind of saw him the other night. He just kind of best playered you, and when that jumper's going. Durant, who may or may not play because of his injury.
He probably won't play, but he will still be voted in. He's going to
get the selection.
He will be probably reserved with somebody else. And looking at the rules again, that extra spot that gets replaced is basically selected by Commissioner Silver. So
yes, chat saying like he won't play. Yeah, but like you still pick him, right?
Yeah, and he's still going to be the captain. He's a leading fan vote getter, so he'll be the captain. He will have his own squad. It'll be Team Durant
even if he doesn't play in the All-Star game. Under his resume, it'll say 2021 NBA All-Star, which matters, for these guys and their Hall of Fame ballots and their bonuses and all that stuff. So I think Durant is a pretty no-brainer.
Yeah. But I think with that in mind, we should also select an extra person to be a replacement.
We can do that at the end because that'll be the last. So I think our 3 front court guys are the same. Giannis, 2-time MVP. Depoy playing an unreal season when every Milwaukee Buck was hurt. So, you know what I mean? And obviously we know that Embiid is great. So who do you have as the 2 starting guards? Because I think this is where it starts to get really interesting.
Yeah. I have Trae Young.
Okay.
I don't particularly love it, but I couldn't think of anyone else that was probably more deserving as a point guard in the East to be the starter. Mm-hmm. And then I have James Harden as my 2 guard.
I do. I have Harden as well. And that's funny because I talked with Leif. I talked with Leif the other day, and Leif doesn't really like Harden this year. And we were kind of having a conversation, and he's like, something's off about him. And I go, I agree.
He's almost averaging a triple-double right now.
No, that's what I said. I'm like, I go, James Harden is like playing like,
and his stats are only going to go up now that Durant's out, and
he's averaging
Kyrie's still only playing road games.
23 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists on I think 56 true shooting. I'll confirm that for you guys. But, he is at, for true shooting percentage, he is at 59. So almost 60 true shooting percentage. So really good. I had Trae Young as well. I kind of waffled between him and another pick, but I'm sorry.
I'm not in love.
I had Harden and DeMar.
Yeah. I'm not in love with Trae Young just because Atlanta hasn't looked great this season. If they had a better record, I feel more happy about like that pick, but I mean, his stats are still up there. It's kind of hard not to put him as a starter. I mean, he's pretty much the leading vote getter too.
Who, Trae?
Right now? Yeah, Trae is pretty much in terms of guards. I'll confirm, but I'm pretty sure last I saw he had like well over 1 million votes right now.
I agree with what Fig said and other people in chat. DeMar being a guard is ridiculous. I believe Percolating the Glass says that he's played like guard 1% of the season or something.
And it's crazy because he's definitely not playing guard for Chicago. But I think they had said, or I forgot who it was. It might have been Chicago or it might have been NBA that clarified why he was listed as a.
I think he asked for it.
He asked for it.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't listen. We can't be caving it.
But in a way, it kind of helps him in a way get that backward selection because that front court, at least for starting, like if he wants to start, it's pretty thin as a front court player. I mean, like you got 3 guys that definitely deserve to be the starters.
So Cleaning the Glass has him 21% of the time at power forward, at small forward, 76% of the time as power forward, and 3% of the time at center. They don't have him as a guard any of the time. So super weird, but it is what it is. As much as I've talked shit about DeMar,
he's had a great season.
He's been sensational, and I don't even think that you can.
He's an all-star. I think he's a lock too. I mean, he's not a starter on my lineup, but I think he is an all-star lock. I mean, Chicago has pretty much the best. I mean, outside of Miami, they have the best record right now in the East, and he's played healthy all year, and he has the numbers to prove it. So I don't see why he's not going to be deserving of getting the all-star vote.
His case is pretty unassailable, I think, and as much as I like to be a hater, I have eyes. I know what I'm watching. I mean, 26 points per game. He's getting to the line again, over 7 times, which I think was a huge part of his game that slipped a little in San Antonio, and it's kind of come back to him. 48% from the field, 35% on threes, 50% on twos. The dude is just incredible this season. The on-off stuff with DeMar is pretty remarkable. When he's on the court, they're +5, almost +6. When he's off the court, they're -6. It's similar to Jimmy Butler last year. So, I mean, he's great. I can be a hater all I want, but I had in the backcourt he and Harden. Trey made it on my team, but he was a reserve for me, not a starter.
I was pretty much flopping between Harden and DeMar, but I felt like
Harden's just too good, man. Harden's too good, and Trey's just losing too much that I just can't in good faith reward that. He's been great, though. I mean, Trey Young's been a fucking monster, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too old school that I want to reward the winning, but I mean, obviously I'd rather have Trey Young than DeMar DeRozan, but I mean, the 28 points per game, the 9 assists, the 4 rebounds, the good shooting numbers. I mean, 37% on threes, 50% on twos. The dude's awesome. Getting to the line about the same as DeMar. Just pretty better in almost every category, but I just gave it to DeMar for the winning. They're both really bad on defense, so that doesn't really factor in for me.
Just to put it out there, actually, DeMar has the most votes and for guards right now.
That's all Canada.
The second fan returns. Trey Young is number 2.
Canada loves him. I listen. Durant DeRozan's the most loved guy on earth. I was surprised how on fire my mentions were when I slandered him.
He has the 3rd most votes of all the Eastern Conference players right now. He's got almost 3 million. But I mean, this is from second fan returns. He's going to be well over 3 million on the next batch that comes out probably tomorrow. I think it might come out tomorrow. This came out 5 days ago, so or maybe it might come out actually like by Thursday. But yeah, it's crazy that he has so many votes right now. So he has probably a better case than Harden right now in terms of getting the fan vote, which is 50% of it. So,
but we're talking about who we think.
I get that, but also like I kind of also want to put it together with like what we also probably will see too in a way.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So let's move on to the reserve. So we have 6 guys already, right? So remember, it's 3 front court, 2 guards, and 2 wild cards, and we're gonna pick an extra one at the end for the alternate. So I think we each have one of our guards taken because I went with Trey and you went with DeMar. So who is your other guard?
So there's so many good candidates. That's where it gets really tough for the Eastern Conference. I was having a hard time because I needed to get one player from Cleveland because they're playing so well right now. And I wasn't sure to pick between Jared Allen and Darius Garland. I lean towards Garland on my selection, but it was close. So I have Garland right now as one of my backcourt players.
Okay, so you're 2 reserves. So your 2 guards are DeMar and Garland.
Yeah.
And then is another guard a wild card for you?
Yeah.
What you got?
I got Lavine.
You got Lavine.
Yeah.
Okay. So Garland, DeMar, Lavine. So 2 Bulls on the bench. My other guard is Fred VanVleet.
I knew you were gonna pick him.
He's on a good team.
Yeah,
he's having an amazing season on both ends of the floor. I think he deserved it last year. He's averaging 22 points per game. He's averaging 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 43% from the field, 40% from 3-point range. His bad finishing is still, pretty his Achilles heel. Everybody has their warts, but I think he's been great. I think he's deserved it. I don't really.
He was my other option. for sure.
It's tough not giving it to Garland. I wanted to, and I went back and forth with Garland and another player. There are actually 3 Cavs players that deserve consideration, but
Evan Mobley would be the other one, but he's a rookie, man. I don't think he deserves his first year in the NBA. His numbers aren't really as great as some of the other front court players. Like his numbers are less than Sabonis right now. So like if I'm thinking of another front court player, I'll pick Sabonis probably over him at the moment. But definitely, like, don't get me wrong, he's going to be an all-star player for years to come. So I mean, he's not an all-star player, I think, in his rookie season.
So let's go with the 2 front court guys, with the 3 front court guys. And to kind of pivot on that, Brian, I as a Cav nod, I gave it to Jared Allen. I thought and I talked to people about this because I originally went Garland because I think he's more fun, and I like and I just feel like he's their engine to a lot of what they do. And I really looked at the numbers and I talked to a lot of people. And I was like, hey, what do you think about the? I gotta say, like 90% of the people I spoke to.
I didn't talk to anybody but myself, so you're cheating.
I did research. I asked people what they thought. I was like, do I have biases? And they all told me Allen, and I went with Jared Allen.
Okay.
Dude's
it's
awesome.
not a bad pick. It's not a bad pick. I only picked 1 Cav player, so obviously Allen's not on my front court list.
Is Lavine eligible at forward?
No, I think he's only a guard. I mean,
is he only a guard?
Let me make sure. Yeah, he's. Wait, let me just make sure before. Yeah, he's listed as a guard on the Eastern Conference ballot.
Unfortunate. So I think we both have. I think
he has the 3rd most votes in terms of guards right now.
I think we both have Jimmy.
Yeah, obviously the Heat deserve 1 player, and the one that's going to pretty much definitely be a shoe, and I think is going to be Jimmy more than anyone else. As deserving as Kyle and Tyler have cases, I think between the fan voting, because he has pretty good fan voting too from the front court. He's 5th right now. He's pretty close to Jason Tatum. He might be able to overtake him by the final votes. I just feel like Jimmy, if you're going to pick 1 Heat player, which I think they might only get 1 player, unless like reserves and stuff, like not counting those, but like just in terms of like the initial 12, I think he's going to be the most likely candidate from all of them. And I think he's also probably the most deserving when he's healthy. Like he's pretty much been their best player.
I think he's no question their most deserving guy. I think he's been their best player. I think any metric will tell you that. I think he's just been their best defensive player all season. He's been I wouldn't say their motor on offense, but clearly their most ceiling raising offensive player.
He's having one of his best seasons this year in terms of scoring right now. So like it makes sense for him to get it.
23.
Obviously, it's the games played, but like a lot of these guys have missed games because of COVID and other injuries. So like, I don't see why he couldn't get in just because he missed 3 or 4 weeks.
A lot of guys missed time.
A lot of guys have missed at least 2 weeks because of COVID. So
Jimmy's at 23 a game, 6 assists, rebounds, true shooting about 60% true shooting. 88% at the line this season, which is just incredible. The fact that Jimmy's shooting 59% true shooting.
He's leading the league in steals right now still.
23% from 3 is pretty remarkable that he's able to kind of leverage his finishing, his free throw shooting, and the free throw rate to such an efficient. I mean, the dude is one of the best. I mean, before he went down, he was a legitimate MVP candidate. Yeah. I mean, he was top 10 in EPM. I know that number is, he's 6, I think, right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's 6 in ETM right now. If you look at any advanced metric, Raptor, whatever you want, LeBron, Jimmy is one of the league leaders. I think he's actually 1st or 2nd in LeBron last time I checked. I don't remember, but he's just been their best player. And we were talking with Tiff, Brian. She's like, he's just missed too many games. Too many of these guys, like you said, are going to have missed significant time. Durant, DeMar, Lavine.
I mean, Giannis had missed time with COVID. Embiid missed almost a month with COVID. He was out the longest with COVID of any player that got it this season.
And there's other dudes down the list.
Jason Tatum's going to be another candidate for one of these front court spots. He's also missed time with COVID. I think Siakam also missed time with like a lot of these guys have missed time. And not even Siakam missed time with COVID. Plus, he also came back from that surgery he had in the off season. So, like a lot of these guys have had COVID. So like the front court spot, I feel like in the Eastern Conference, it's a little, it's stacked, but it's also a little thin at the same time because of all these like cases of people who've been missing time. And yeah, I mean, to me, there's like 9 great candidates in the Eastern Conference for front court spots, and there's really only 6 spots we can give it to outside of those 2 wild cards.
I really think that there's not a lot of front court guys because, like, after Jimmy and Allen in my backcourt, I feel like I'm going to give it to a guy that I don't feel is very deserving. So
who's that? I think I know who it is.
So my other guy was Tatum.
Yeah,
and I don't feel great about it. I don't.
His numbers are pretty great though.
His numbers are good. They're not.
The efficiency is not there, obviously, but the stats are still there.
I feel a little icky with Tatum, but I don't know who else to put up forward.
The only other guy I was thinking of as like a wing, because I kind of wanted to put a wing in there, so like Tatum fits the wing candidate
as a forward, which he should.
There's really not many. There's not that many wings outside of Durant. Durant, Tatum gets Jimmy as a wing, right? Still,
Jimmy's a wing. So it's Jimmy and Allen are my 2 front court guys.
So like Jimmy definitely takes one of those wing spots. I have Tatum as my other front court player.
So you got Tatum
as
too.
Well. I do have Tatum as well. But the other guy actually I think could get a nod. Maybe not as a front court selection, but I think as a reserve. I think I really like Miles Bridges. I think he's had a great season.
I don't think he's there yet for me. By the way, Lavine has played, according to Cleaning the Glass, 54 minutes at forward this year, 42 at guard. It's just because the Bulls are so small that they play these guys at 3 and 4, right? And it's frustrating. I'm not there with Miles. I'm just not. I think I'm just not. And again, the East front court is so you don't feel good about it because, like, do you feel good about Sabonis?
No.
I don't think
Sabonis is going to get in. I mean, the reason why I like Bridges also is because the team's doing good. Like they're going to be a playoff team, and they'll probably be a top 6 seed, I think, almost, or maybe 7 seed. But I mean, I don't think they're going to make it to the play-in. I hope they don't, because I really like that team.
Chat says give it to Siakam over Tatum. I think Pascal started off a little slow, and he's
had a great season. No, I actually do like Siakam's case, even though he hasn't played that many games.
I can't give the Raptors 2 All-Stars. I just can't.
That's the thing. I couldn't give them 2 All-Stars either. So
I can't.
I can give you my other front. I can give you my other front court. I can give my other front court. It is Siakam. I do.
You got Siakam's, but you don't have. Do you have Fred? You don't have. Oh well, wait.
That's the reason why I only picked one. I felt like Fred. Siakam, when he has played, I think he's been their best player on both ends.
He's been fantastic. I mean, I think, early in the season,
I have him on fantasy, so I know for sure he's been he's been kicking ass for my fantasy team.
OG was playing really well before Siakam came back to the lineup, and then Siakam kind of came and restored order, and then OG's numbers took a bit of a dip. You look down the East, you're like, okay, do I like Sabonis? Nah, not really. Do I like Jeremy Grant? I don't think anybody should reward a Piston. No Nick. No. Julius Randle's just straight ass. The Wizards, I don't really feel anybody. Bridges, I wouldn't feel great about it. Not really there. You know what I'm saying? And then, you have guys like Jared Allen and then stuff like, and then, with the Heat, with Bam not really playing enough games. Bam really hasn't played enough games. Yeah. I mean, I think Bam's kind of out of the picture for that.
Here's a question, because I'm looking and thinking about it. How many of these guys, like how many teams are going to have 2 All-Stars on the Eastern Conference? Is it really just going to be the Mets?
Well, Chicago.
Chicago would have 2 guys. Yeah.
So Chicago, and we can get into that. So we have our 2 wild cards left. I think you said one of them, right? One of them was your other guard, which was, I think, Lavine, right?
Yeah. Well, technically, I think Lavine would be ahead of Garland. So I guess you can put Garland as my wild card if you want to categorize it that way.
I have Lavine, and then my last one is Lowry. And that was the hardest one for me, Brian, because I had Drew Holiday for the longest. I had Drew Holiday in pencil, and Drew's been fantastic this season. I think Drew's probably, Drew's at 19 a game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 50% from the floor, 38% from 3, 55 from 2. The dude is incredible. Has played 33 games. So, almost half the season.
Yeah. They got a good record still, even though they've been missing a lot of time, a lot of games. But
They have
I
a
don't
good
know.
record. So that was the guy I had for a long time, Brian. And then Lowry's played 39 games. He's at 14.
He's gonna miss the next game. Apparently, that's what chat was saying.
Yeah,
Well, I think
he's at 13, 8, and 5. 50%, 53% from 2, 33% from 3, 85% from the line. They've just won too much, and he's been so good he's like the no stats all-star. And if you look at Chris Paul's numbers, Brian, they're not so dissimilar, like CP and Kyle, and that includes the bad shooting from 3. Because Kyle from 2 is really good, and he's been a great mid-range shooter this year. He's having his best season finishing at the rim. And I just think Miami has been so good this season. I think they've been a better season. Miami's been hurt too, because people are going to say, well, Milwaukee was really injured. Well, Miami's been really injured too. Both teams have been really, really injured. And when Milwaukee was absolutely falling apart with only Giannis, they were the 10th seed in the East. And when Miami was apart, only Lowry, not even Jimmy or Bam, they were climbing the standings. So,
they're tied for the first seed right now, and a lot of that is due to Lowry. I mean, they changed their offense with him basically running the show. He's third right now in terms of assists, which is great. I mean, that's pretty much, if you're adding a point guard to this selection, really, there's only one true point guard, I feel like, and it's Trae Young. I mean, outside of Darius Garland, I have him too. I mean, I don't think you had him, so you only have like one true point guard on your thing. Outside of Lowry, like, there probably should be a second point guard added to this all-star team. I think Lowry makes the case with just the way he plays as an initiator. I know people in the chat are saying, oh, he doesn't have enough points. Like, he wasn't expected to be a scoring guard on his team anyway. He was supposed to be a facilitator that also, was great on defense, hounding the point of attack. And he's done more than that, I feel like. Like, I know I complain a lot about his three-point shooting numbers, and I'm sure they'll probably end up going up towards the end of the year. But I feel like they're sufficient enough compared to a lot of these other guys, especially in the Western Conference. Like, Chris Paul's shooting numbers suck, and he's probably going to be an all-star starter. So
and he deserves it.
Yeah, he deserves it. That team is insane. They're like, they only have 9 games. They even have double-digit losses still.
So Pinky says Kyle and CP.
I think Lowry definitely has a great case to be that last wildcard spot. And I was thinking about it too. And actually, I was thinking between him and Jaylen Brown. And the only reason I picked Lowry ahead of Jaylen Brown is because of the record. Because Miami has the first seed right now. I think if Miami was like a 5th or 6th seed, maybe even 4th seed, I'd probably pick Jaylen Brown ahead of him.
I just can't give it to Jaylen. I can't. And it's funny because you look at Kyle's numbers and nothing jumps out. The assists jump out a little bit because he's one of the leading assist men in the league, right? And I think the efficiency at the rim jumps out at you, right? And the mid-range shooting has been really good. The defense, obviously, that doesn't show up in a stat page or anything, but I mean, he's been an incredible defender for the Heat, has just contributed to winning in every way. And I think because it comes down to who are the best 12 players in the Eastern Conference. Now, do I think Kyle is a better player than Jrue Holiday? It gets tough. And when it gets to a point that I have to hair split, I'll just lean with the winning.
Games played too.
6 games is negligible to me, right? That's pretty close. That that doesn't matter, especially in a COVID season. And so I go with Kyle. If somebody has Jrue over Kyle, I can't get mad at it. I don't know, but that's kind of where I was. And I made this decision, Brian, like 2 days ago, because 2 days ago I didn't have Lowry I did not have Lowry in my All-Star team. The Heat had 1 All-Star. Bam is just not. Has Bam even played 20 games? I don't even know. I think 20 games should be the minimum. I think.
Oh, Bam? Games, no, Bam's played more than 20 games.
Bam's played 19 games this season.
He has?
It's crazy. He's barely played. I know, it's insane.
Okay. Well, I didn't even count Bam because I wasn't going to count because he was out for so long. Though.
Yeah, he's just been out. So he's played. How many has Jimmy? Has Jimmy played 30?
And his numbers aren't as great.
He's played 26.
Yeah,
I think the minimum's 20.
Is it?
Yeah, for me personally,
okay. I don't think there's an actual. There's not an actual limit. I'm looking at the criteria, but obviously, a lot of these guys aren't going to get voted because they've missed so much time. Like
I mean,
there's some cases where like I feel like Siakam. Actually, I thought he played well more than 20 because I've had it for a while on my teams.
Pascal
But
might be around the 22 to 23 range. Pascal's played.
I like Siakam's case because he's played 28 games. So like I feel like he's played enough games, even though he was out for some time with COVID and he came back from that surgery. He's played enough games where I feel like he's in that range where he should still be safe to get an all-star consideration.
Bam, 19 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Down year, according to Twitter for Bam. He's a fucking monster.
That's a down year for Bam.
That's what people are saying. He's awesome. Kind of got the rebounding back up to double digits. After last season, he was at 9, bumped that up to 10. I think that matters. Scoring last season, 18.7. This year, 18.5. Assists gone down a little bit because he's asked to do less in the offense. Field goal, 2-point percentage, went down this year.
Next year. I'm not even worried about Bam.
He's shockingly taking more shots this year.
Had he been healthy the rest of this entire season, he would have been a lock, and maybe we'd be saying Lowry's out. But like at the moment,
if Bam was healthy, I think it makes. Well, he'd be a forward.
He would be a front court player.
It would make someone's life like Jared Allen really hard, and you might have to kind of slide Garland in, and you might have to. I mean, I think Bam would be more deserving of Tatum for sure.
If Bam played more games, I would pick him ahead of Siakam.
That might push. Honestly, Tatum out, right? You put Bam, and then that pushes Kyle out, and then you could just give it a Drew and feel good about yourself. But that's not what happened. So that's kind of where I am. So to recap, my 12 All-Stars: Kevin Durant, James Harden, Trae Young, Giannis Embiid, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Jimmy Butler, Jared Allen, Fred VanVleet, Jason Tatum, and Kyle Lowry. Now, my alternate, we'll get into yours now too, Brian. I don't think I have to. The alternates I don't think have to be by position. I don't think that in the past they've done it that way. They just pick a dude.
They just pick whoever's like best
Dragic
deserving.
Came in for a forward, I remember that being funny.
So
I just picked Drew Holiday as my alternate because I think he deserves it. And I feel good about myself. Now, I'm sorry to Bradley Beal. I'm sorry to Domantas Sabonis. I'm sorry to LaMelo Ball. I'm sorry. I couldn't. And those are the guys that really got cut for me. And Garland.
So how many guys right now? It's like one guy that's pretty much like probably for sure is not going to play.
LaVine probably too. If LaVine's out, I probably give it a Garland just because I think Garland's been really good. And just those teams at the pot, like I just can't give it a Beal. Like I can't give it a Beal. He hasn't been that good this year. I can't give it a Jaylen Brown.
His numbers, his 3-point shooting has been like absurdly bad. It's like
I can't. People are telling me to give it a Garland.
He didn't even make it 2 years ago when he was averaging 30 points a game. How's he going to make it averaging 23 on terrible shooting?
Guys, Drew Holiday's been too good. I can't. It pained me to put Kyle Lowry over him, and I love my game's Kyle Lowry lifer. Drew's been amazing. I can't even. You know what I mean? I just can't. So Drew's my alternate. If LaVine's out, we could talk about Garland. So Brian, who's your alternate, and then what's your final list?
I have a list of guys. I have to really think about it.
For your alternate?
Yeah.
Well,
I think Jalen. I think for me it's probably gonna be Fred. Yeah, because I didn't vote him in. So yeah, Fred will definitely be my first alternate.
You don't have Drew.
I think no, I don't have Drew either. But I don't think
you wouldn't even consider Drew Holiday.
Mm-mm.
So only $1, 2 Raptors. Interesting.
I just really like Fred
love
over
to
Drew.
See it. Let's go. Somebody on this podcast gave 2 All-Stars to the Raptors.
I think they've been that good.
It wasn't me.
They've really turned their season around. Like they start off terribly, and I feel like they've definitely turned their season around to the point where they might not even be a play-in team. So they looked great last night, even though the Heat won. Like I thought that looked like a playoff team that deserved at least one All-Star person. Like the second guy is going to be only getting in as a reserve, so he's not going to be voted in by the coaches. He's going to be replaced by Adam Silver. So I think Fred VanVleet could be that one guy. If I had to pick a second guy, I think Jaylen Brown would probably be my second one.
Yeah. I just didn't want to give it to him. Poor LaMelo Ball playing well, but obviously not good enough for Brian Goins.
I like Miles Bridges still more than him.
That's crazy. LaMelo's special, dude. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really like his game. I don't really like Lamelo's game. I guess that might be why.
You don't like LaMelo's game?
No.
He's been spectacular.
I think he's been good. Like, I'm not saying he's not good, and he's probably going to be All-Star worthy for years to come. But like, it's a second year. It's a second season, right? Like, he doesn't have to be an All-Star right away. Like, he can wait another year. It's okay.
That's all she wrote. You know, also considerations to Evan Mobley, who I thought deserved a look. I agree with Brian. It's just kind of tough to give it to rookies, but you know, I just couldn't really go there. You know, again, Beal, I couldn't give it a Beal. Middleton, I also thought deserved a look. I just
like Middleton's numbers.
And to be honest, Brian, I really thought hard about Middleton over Tatum, and I don't feel great about it. I just did not feel good about Tatum, but Tatum's just so good that
their playoff game, they're gonna need one guy selected. Like that's pretty much the way I was viewing it. Like a lot of these guys who are playoff teams, they're gonna have to have at least one guy. And like Tatum's numbers that are up there with a playoff team, like there's no way he's not gonna be selected. I feel like he's a lock.
I'm so like back and forth on Tatum. So let's recap Tatum's stats a little bit. 25.5 points per game, 26 points per game. 8 rebounds, 4 assists. You know, playmaking's been good. Rebounding's been up. 48% from 2, which is about his career average. 33% from 3. Bad, but there's other guys that we voted in that have that 3-point percentage or worse.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton is at 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. 46% from 2, 39% from 3. He's winning. I think Middleton's defense has been better than Tatum's. Tatum has had some slippage on that end.
Yeah.
So that's where I am. And I'm going to go Tatum barely. I don't feel great about it. Middleton can probably have a hot 2 weeks and make his way in for me if Tatum syncs it up. I don't feel great about it, but that's where I am.
There's a comment on here saying, "Oh, Raptors are a 9 seed, Celtics are a 10 seed." I mean, if you look at the standings, they're all within like a half a game of each other and like a game of the 7 seed. Like the way we were picking this, not today, we were picking this over the course of the last few days. So obviously, some of the standings have changed. The Hawks, I know for sure, are going to be the worst team to have an All-Star player, probably.
Yeah, the Hawks are just like, I mean, they're 3.5 back.
But Trae Young's numbers are up there to the point where like it's like hard to deny him. He's averaging over 27 points and 10 assists. Like
he's just too good, and he's not the issue there. It's other people. I mean, the play-in, the play-in and everything else has really kind of separated recently. I mean, still the play-in. So the 6th seed is Philly, who's you know what I mean. Like they're 2.5. They're 1.5 games ahead of the 7th seed Hornets.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy how close like all these seeds are, but pretty much like the top 4 are close neck to neck for like the number 1 seed.
Miami's 3.5 games out of the play-in.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Charlotte is in the play-in and they're 4 games back of first place. So Just Jared says Brian is what I imagine Schmeeth and Smolnik looks like. Shout out to Schmeeth and not here today. You know, our chat faithful. And that's really it. That's been our All-Stars. I wanted to get our picks in. Stuff keeps happening. Bam's returning. All sorts of hubbubaloo left and right, and we just couldn't get kind of a day to pick our guys, but we did it. No Western Conference picks. Who cares? I cared about the Jimmy angle. How can we get Heat players in the All-Star game?
Yeah.
And for those of you saying that this doesn't matter, guys, Hall of Fame resumes depend on stuff like this, right? So guys on the fringes, like Kyle Lowry and stuff like that, this stuff matters. Like if Kyle gets another All-Star appearance and he's a 7-time All-Star, I mean, if you're 7-time All-Star with a gold medal and with a title, you get in the Hall of Fame. And I think 7 has been kind of the magic number, you know, historically. Joe Johnson's probably going to get in the Hall of Fame as a 7-time All-Star, right? And that's just kind of how it goes. Just Jared says, when do they select All-Star coach? I believe it's when the reserves get picked, right?
I think the All-Star coaches is decided literally like whoever that like whoever is number one
And-
right before the All-Star game.
No, but I think it's
That-
whoever's number one when the reserves get picked. I think that's what it is, isn't it?
I thought it was right before the All-Star game, but you might be right. I honestly do not know. I probably should look that up. That is a great question.
Yeah, I don't.
Because Quinn Snyder was the All-Star coach for the West last year, I think the East, and then it's also about a case of like if you were selected the year before, you can't get it 2 years in a row.
2 weeks before the All-Star game.
Okay.
So
Well, Miami has a case to get Spo in there because voting is pretty much ending soon.
yeah, voting's ending soon. So keep hammering it home. Real quick, Brian, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Tyler Hero's All-Star campaign.
I want him to get there. I still can't. I can't even give him as a reserve.
I don't
as a
think
replacement player.
So some people may say he deserves it over Tyler, over Kyle. I don't know. I mean, 20 points, 47% from two, 46% from two, 38% from three, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He's good. He deserves a look, but I couldn't do it. I just, you look at our list, and because he's a guard, I don't think he deserves it over Fred. I don't think he deserves it over Kyle and Drew. And I don't think he deserves it over DeMar and Lavine, Harden, and Trey. So that kind of leaves us with he's one of the first guards out. And I don't know. I think Kyle's been better this year.
So fan voting ends in 4 days on January 22nd. It's this Saturday. The starters are announced on January 27th, and then the reserves are announced on February 3rd. So we're looking at another, 2 weeks-ish, 2.5 maybe, before we actually get like all the All-Star players announced. So what was the comment said 2 weeks before or 2 weeks?
I said 2 weeks before. I read on Google.
Okay.
2 weeks before the game. So, let's, Brian, real quick, because we got to get out of here.
The game's February 20th. So I'm
on
just
Tyler's campaign. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So February 6th, whoever has the best record in the Eastern Conference on February 6th gets to be the head coach.
2 weeks from now. So, shout out to Spo. Go get him, Tiger. So quick on Tyler's case, how you feel, what you think.
He's had a good year. I don't think Miami's going to have a case for more than 2 All-Stars. This isn't the big 3 era where they had Dwayne, LeBron, and Bosh all locked in. Like Miami has a case to have 4 All-Stars because Bam also, like if he was healthy, he'd be an All-Star caliber player to be selected. I really think they have a case for 2 because they'll be probably the number 1 seed. So in my mind, especially with the coaches deciding like who gets to be on the reserve team and even with replacement players involved, it just makes sense for Miami to get two guys in there. And I just don't think Tyler's case is bigger than Lowry's, and Jimmy's pretty much a lock. So that's pretty much where I come down to it. Like Tyler's had a great year, and even though like Kyrie's been out, some of the other dudes who are hurt or didn't play this season probably would have been more deserving than Tyler, even though he had a great season this year. I just find it hard for Tyler to get there until he probably starts averaging probably Devin Booker numbers when he was with before like Chris Paul, like when he was averaging like 25 or 24 a game.
It's hard for him.
He needs to get there.
Well, it's hard for him because like the guys he plays with, Bam and Jimmy are gonna probably get first crack unless he's like, he's not better than those guys, right?
Yeah.
So he's and it's really unless you're like a dominant team.
But he need like his numbers are good now, and if he was like a defensive if he was like playing Drew Holiday defense with the numbers he was posting now,
for sure,
be an All-Star. But like if his main call is offense, and his thing is obviously like he's off the bench, he's a 6-man. Like I feel like coaches are gonna look at that like he's not a start. Like it's gonna be hard for him to get those votes. So
he's
I don't know.
1.4 in defensive estimated plus minus, which would rank in the 19th percentile. Not good.
I want Tyler to get into the All-Star game. I want every Heat player in the All-Star game. So it's not like I don't want him there. It's just it's hard to see him, taking so many spots of like a guy like Darius Garland, a guy like Fred VanVleet. Like it's hard to put him ahead of those guys.
And even with his own team, like we just talked about, like I think that when we saw the sample when all those guys were out, if Tyler was the leading scorer, during that stretch, Kyle was the straw that makes the drink. And I thought what he did on both ends and the way he got him into gear offensively, to me, that makes him the better player and it makes him the more deserving all-star. Tyler's played 12 more games than Jimmy. Played 38 games. Jimmy's 26.
And I'm looking at the fan voting. He dropped off the top 10 of the fan voting, so he's not even like on the list of like guys to even like. It's hard for him to even get in.
I don't care about. We're doing what
I know.
think. Yeah, I don't really give a shit about that. I mean, I'm not even talking about what's realistic and what's not. But
I just don't think it's realistic, and I don't even think personally. I don't think he's going to be deserving of it this season. But
and I like
it's
what
his
Dark
third year.
says.
He could be it next year. Who knows?
He'll have another chance at it if he keeps this up. Dark Pinky says, since coaches kick reserves, they'll be more inclined to put Lowry. For sure, they always go vets who play defense and stuff. Hopefully, Tyler can get another chance at this because he is a really special player, and I think he's better than for sure I thought he'd be.
Yeah.
And that's really our show here, guys. It was really fun, Brian. I like doing shows with you. I missed it, and I really wanted to get these picks in.
Me too, man. We should probably do it again. Something else. I don't know where we need to still come up with something for the Fonjo episode. So if you guys have any ideas, I don't know who we should bring on. I've reached out to a couple guests to see if we can get them on. And by couple, I mean Solomon Hill.
We'll go to the drawing board.
He responded back, but I feel like we need to still push him
he got
again.
traded now, so that
kind of made it hard. I don't know.
Situations have changed, so we'll see.
But if you guys tweet at him, be like, "Hey, we'd like to have you back on a mind like that."
Don't harass Solomon Hill. Leave Solomon.
Well, it could help.
We'll find
Who
something.
knows?
Guys, thank you so much for always coming to stream. If you're a pod listener, thank you so much. If you're a YouTube listener or viewer, thank you very much. Please hit subscribe. For some reason, I think the algorithm said 65% of you watch the videos and don't subscribe. Just hit subscribe. It helps us. It makes the notification easy for you. I'm not even telling you to hit the bell. I'm just telling you to hit subscribe. So when you see in your inbox, you know what's going on, right? So that helps us out.
Smash the like button.
I don't even know what likes help with the algorithm. I don't care. I just want to keep the viewers. I just want y'all subbed. It's nice. It looks good.
I want to see 300 likes on this video.
We love to read the comments and we all laugh about it in our group chat. So shout out to y'all. Remember, Weird Off pregame show before every game, Hangover Time after every game. Our post-game and pregame show, our game day coverage is second to none. And of course, you get this pod on off days. Thank you guys so much. See you tomorrow. Peace.
Eating 5.